Good afternoon, Newport News Public Schools. It's me, Dr. Gerald. I'm back, and my special guest today is the one and only Superintendent of Newport News Schools, Dr. George Parker. Good afternoon, Dr. Parker. How are you?
I am doing well. I see my name is listed as Tiffany Moore Buffalo. I think she sent me the link. So if I say anything wrong, I'm Tiffany Moore Buffalo, and
Absolutely.
glad to join you this afternoon.
Did you have anything out? First, always like to open up. Did you have anything in particular that you wanted to share with the staff, or anything that you needed to talk about?
Just I'm glad to see everyone. I hope everyone's doing well, staying healthy. We are definitely in some interesting times, and as I sit back and talk to a few parents and students and some of the groups that I've been Zoom conferencing with, I remind folks every now and then that if you go back and look at our history about 1918, they had something called the Spanish flu, and very similar to what we're going through right now. Obviously, technologies and medical treatments were a lot different, but it was still a very contagious disease that was airborne and unfortunately killed a lot of people. So there has to be a level of seriousness about what we're going through. And I applaud all of our educators and our community in general for the work that we're doing to make sure we're educating students through a very difficult time, probably hopefully a once in a generation type incident. And hopefully we'll look back at these years, at this many years from now, and say that we did the right thing for kids and the right things for each other. So glad to join you this afternoon, and look forward to spending a little bit of time with you.
Well, we're glad to have you. We're already at 2:30, which beats our last time that we were here. So the numbers keep going up every time we join. So the way that this usually works is that those folks out in Cyberland, you can submit questions either through the chat or the question answer session, and I will make sure those questions get to Dr. Parker. But we do have a couple of canned questions to start with. And I will start with, one of the things, since we've been at home, I've had a little bit, not gonna say I had a whole lot more time, but everybody is like really involved in Netflix. What is your guilty pleasure that you like to binge watch?
My two shows I'm watching right now pretty consistently, multiple shows at a time, are Ray Donovan and All American.
Really?
I'm really enjoying All American. I think it's a very good show. Speaks to a lot of family values, and it's a really compelling story. So compelling story. So I like All American. I would say that's my first binge pleasure, and Ray Donovan is the other show that I'm watching pretty fairly regular.
So you mean you're not watching Tiger King?
I hate Tiger King. My wife loves Tiger King.
Yes.
I exit the room immediately once Tiger King comes on. That's the easiest way to get rid of me.
We had a long conversation the last time with Dr. Campbell about Tiger King and all of the updates. I don't know why I'm obsessed with Tiger King, but there's something about it that I think it's the mind bubblegum piece, because I don't have to think a lot. I can just watch in awe the entire time, mouth open. So I see y'all hating on Tiger King out there. It's okay. It's all right. I still love Tiger King. So one of the things throughout this time, we all have had things that kind of keep us up at night. What is something that keeps you up at night? I know that we all are kind of thinking about our students and our families, our educators. So what is something that keeps Dr. Parker awake?
Well, I've always had a problem with watching the news too long. So I'll go on from CNN from 8 o'clock to midnight, watching the same conversations over and over again. And I think with the flexibility and schedule, this makes it worse for me. Mm-hmm. So I have to force myself to stay away from the news channels for too long, because it's really, just keeping a lot of the negativity and the things that are going on your mind, at the forefront of your mind. So I try to force myself to get away from that and turn to something else. But the things that are keeping me up at night, I think there are the same things everyone else is going through. You don't want to see a family member get sick. You don't want to lose a relative. You don't want to lose, a child, and you don't want to get sick yourself. So I think a lot of the things that I'm worried about right now are the same things everyone else is. We want to see a day when we can come out of this get back to some level of normalcy without really thinking about many of the people we might lose along the way. And that's my big wish, is that we hopefully everyone stays healthy, that we get through this healthy, and that we can make it back to some level of normalcy.
So one of the things we added for this session is that as we talk about some of the questions, we have some this or that types of questions that I'll throw out there for you. So you said that you need to stay away from the news and like get your time back. Is there a snack at home that you need to stay away from? Like, what are you like, I gotta get away? Mine for me is extra toasty Cheez-Its and lime seltzer water.
I had those last night.
I'm telling you, if you haven't had an extra toasty Cheez-It, it will change your life. Those little burnt ends are the best. So is there something that is like your go-to snack while you're at home during this time? I know that you're not at home today because I see that.
Well, yeah, we have a school board meeting this evening, so I'm back in the office for today. But I hate to disappoint everyone, but I am going to use these next few weeks. I actually signed up for Nutrisystem. So I started today.
I need to sign up with you. Like
I started today, and today was my first day. And so I'm giving up all those little toasted Cheez-Its and snacks, comfort snacks for now. But I'm going to try something different for a month and try to focus on my health and staying regularly working out. I have a Peloton bike at home and some free weights, so I stay pretty active. My wife runs on the treadmill. So we stay pretty active around the house, just getting in some daily exercise. So walk in the neighborhood, of course.
So speaking of your wife, I know that she's an educator as well, and so she is probably at home as well. What does a typical day look like for you and your family during the stay-at-home order?
Typical day, I'm pretty much working at least 5 to 6 hours, some days up to 10, depending on what's going on. So I'll be up by 8. The state superintendent has a conference call every twice a week at 8:30. So we have other conference calls that that our staff have going on during the week with the projects that we're working on. So really, my day is I try to keep a routine of getting up, getting breakfast and a cup of coffee, and then getting to some level of work. One of the things we've all noticed probably is with everyone being home sheltered right now, that the emails have really multiplied. So I spend quite a bit of time just making sure I'm staying connected to Newport News, to my Outlook email, Zoom conferencing, working on some projects that we need to start thinking about for not only currently present tense, but also what will our summer programming look like? How can we better position ourselves for the fall? So all of that work is still going on. And it really hasn't stopped just because we're sheltered in place and working from home. So that's pretty much what my routine is. I'll work till 3-4 o'clock traditionally. Try to get a workout in around noon. Try to do something, get in some exercise around noon time frame, and then we're all doing dinner together later in the evening. And then I'm binge watching. I'm binge watching after the news shows. So I'm up pretty late. Unfortunately, I have bad habits. My bad habit is I stay up late binge watching shows, and then I'll try to sleep in the morning. So I need to fight that out, those poor habits.
So one of the poll questions that we had out there is, are you a morning person or a night owl? So I'd be interested to see how many educators out there follow suit, because I am more of a morning person. Like, I can get up in the morning. People that at Heritage know I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and work out. And so I could be at work at 6:45, but by 9:15, don't expect anything from me because I'm exhausted. So definitely, I cannot stay up late because I am no good the next day. Well,
I probably just answered that for you. I'm a night person. I usually, I write better in the morning. I don't know why. I write better in the morning. If I'm trying to write something, composing any letters or something that I have to respond to, I write better in the morning. But I stay up late at night. So, and I'm not a very, I'm sorry guys, I'm not a very personable person in the morning. I think my staff will tell you that.
Neither am I.
I tolerate
Once I get
them
that coffee.
up till about 10 o'clock, and then I'll start warming up. So get a few cups of coffee in me, and I'll be all right. But I am usually I'm definitely a evening, late night person, but I write better in the morning. For some reason I work better in the morning if it's something I need to really focus on.
I know all our science people out there, we need like some kind of study on that. Why are we better writers in the morning? And 47% of our staff, or 47% of the folks that are on here today are saying that they're definitely morning people. 35% are night owls, and some folks are just kind of in between, in the middle. So, you know, it is what it is. But I'm a morning person, but I'm definitely a morning person that does better when I've had coffee. It's not that I don't like to get up, it's just to interact with other people. I think caffeine is necessary sometimes just to get me going. That's how come I'm so hype all the time, I guess, all the caffeine. So one of the other questions is that we have is just what has been, I think you touched on this a little bit, but specifically, what do you think the biggest challenge for you is working remotely as the superintendent?
Well, obviously, I love to have the people I'm talking to in the same room. I think it's, you know, one of the things with Zoom, at least you can see the folks you're talking to. But I think that the most difficult piece is just the daily interaction, the collegiality that we have. We share a lot of meals together when we're working, getting into schools and getting around the school division. I think that's, you know, just seeing our students. Really, the most difficult piece, I think, is just the disconnect from the physical disconnect. It's not necessarily social distancing. We use the term sometimes physical distancing, because that's what you know, the social pieces we can do online. We can at least talk to each other. But I think just the physical proximity, having the interactions with everyone in the school division, I think is the part I miss the most.
Me too. I think there is something to be said for being able to run down the hallway and poke your head into a classroom, or run into a meeting, or walk by a meeting and be able to say hi to somebody, or see what kind of snacks they have at their meeting, which is part of my problem, which is probably I need to join Nutrisystem because I always like a good snack. So I think that for me and for a lot of the teachers too, and you feel free, guys, put it in the chat. We're right here for you. So it's I don't want to say a three-way conversation because it's not really three, but as many people that are out there, it's all of us together in this conversation. So we want to hear from you, but definitely missing the human interaction, because even dealing with some of the challenges that we have to deal with now, it's different when you can put your hand on somebody's shoulder and say, no, like, we've got this. So I think that aspect is probably the most challenging for me too, is that like we can't get that human connection that is so vital for schools. So I want to go to something a little bit more light. If we were going to pick up your iPhone, iPod, whatever, what are you listening to right now?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing. I have different music for different things. So
okay.
Music is a resource as for me, and more than anything else. If I'm relaxing, I like jazz. I mean, I like the, you know, jazz, a little bit of Miles Davis, some other things. But if I'm working out, you know, I get a little bit more, you know, 90s hip hop.
You can go ahead and put your favorite
right
song.
now, like I have a playlist, and it's called, you might want to look this one up if you like working out. Let me see, on my playlist, LeBron's Unbreakable playlist.
Oh, I've listened to that one. He really does have a good playlist.
So I'll pop that one in, LeBron's Unbreakable playlist, or 90s hip hop if I'm working out. And
so along those same lines, everybody has like their own mental theme song when they come in a room. Like, you know, when you are coming in, what soundtrack plays in your head? And people always assume that my soundtrack is Beyonce, and it is not. It is Rick Ross, because sometimes you need a little Rick Ross in your life, but we're not gonna go there. But if there's an artist or a song that that is your song, like it is your theme song.
Well, I like "I'm Bad" by Rick Ross. I could take that one, Shamika.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you can never go bad with a little.
Look. You know, maybe the theme from Shaft. I'm just playing, but I don't really know. I don't have necessarily a theme song that I walk in
Okay.
the room with.
So so if you, like when we had the shutdown and everybody was going crazy and getting all the toilet paper and all the paper towels so that I now don't have any.
And please, can someone just leave me a roll or two? I mean, you know, we're down to bare essentials in my household. I can never find anything.
Can somebody please put just a roll out on the curb? This one, thanks, babe. The toilet paper supplies are low, but after you realized all the toilet paper was gone, what was you grabbed next? What was your next hoarding item that you were like, I got to make sure I get this before they get it?
Okay, so first let me tell you my toilet paper story. So my wife has been telling me every time I go out, can you stop by and make sure that you check the paper products? So I'll go in and and everybody sees all the aisles are clear, you know. So I come back, well, can't find anything. So she had me thinking we were almost out of toilet paper, right? So I thought we were down to maybe the rolls that were in the bathroom. So I took some paper towel, and I was with the kids. I started sawing it in half, and I was saying, look, we'll have to take some paper towels.
Split that up.
And then, after I did that and thought I really accomplished something, I looked up in the laundry room, and there was a whole 12-pack of toilet paper. So I said, why do you have me stressing over toilet paper in here when I'm running around to every store that we can find and we have a 12-pack sitting? Well, she says, I don't want that 12-pack to run down. So we need to continue looking. But I thought we were literally out. So I'm hacking away at paper towels, trying to create 2 rolls out of paper towels.
Well, and that's my thing. So I will talk to Jimmy. I'll be like, okay, so we need paper towel and toilet tissue. And he was like, but we have like a whole 12-pack and 6 rolls of paper towel. No, we need more, because if it runs out, and it may be that we get down to the last roll. It was to the point that he went to the advanced auto part, and don't y'all start doing this, because this was a good idea. He got the blue shop towels, like the roll of shop towels. He was like, they're never out of those. He's like, so I went there and got that. Oh, somebody said Riverside Paper Company, they're selling to the public. I know that there are a lot of companies out there who are selling to the public, like Riverside, Dr. Palmer, right? I'm gonna say it again, Riverside Paper Company.
I'm writing it down.
There are a lot of places out there, and I know that my assistant principal, Mr. Finner, was telling me there's somebody else that's selling them. So there's a lot of people that are out there selling. Industrial companies are selling cases of toilet paper. So one of the interesting questions that just came up from Carolyn Harris, are you going to do a TikTok to motivate educators?
I haven't thought about a TikTok, and just so you know, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook. I don't really mess with Instagram, TikTok, all the other social media things, because when you talk about what things I stay away from for peace of mind, social media is one of those where I think it's very addictive. I know there's a lot of cute stuff going on TikTok and these kind of things, but I am a dinosaur when it comes to the newer social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram and those other ones. I think 2 is enough.
Okay.
I don't even mess with LinkedIn anymore. So I try to keep my peace of mind in the real world instead of social media. So, but not opposed to doing something TikTok wise, but you know, it's something I haven't explored in a while.
So I know, speaking of, I feel like TikTok, I know that the older folks over 40 is taking over TikTok, but I think I learned about TikTok from my students. So I know that you have kids and grandkids. Is anybody TikTok age to teach you a TikTok?
Oh yeah. I have a son and a daughter. They're in their 20s. Actually, my son's 18. They're TikTok age, and my daughter actually does a lot of stuff on TikTok.
So I feel like there's a collaboration. Thanks for that question, because we're going to get that Dr. Parker TikTok going.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff on TikTok. I was just looking at some skits they do. She's into drama, and my son is as well. So she has a lot of things on TikTok. I know that they're using it a lot.
And you have grandchildren too, correct? I can't.
Yes, there's 3 boys.
You don't look old enough to have grandchildren, but you have.
Yeah, three boys. They're 3, 2, and 0. Oh. So yeah, my daughter Courtney had all 3 boys. She wanted to have her children back to back. So she wanted a girl, at least one of those three to be a girl, but it just hasn't worked out. So I don't know if she's going back for number 4, but Maxwell, Mason, and Miles.
Any significance to those
3
names?
boys.
All M's?
All M's, and two are artists, right? Maxwell and Miles.
Oh, Maxwell and Miles Davis. Yeah, absolutely. So what do your grandkids call you?
Right now, they just look at me kind of strange because they're all so young. They run away from
3.
me. So I'm waiting for my time. My time hasn't come yet.
Do you have a
So
preferred name?
they'll every now and then I might bribe them with some candy or something, and we get a chance to spend a moment. But they're so young right now. I'm waiting for that 3 to 7 range when I can become G-pop or pop or whatever it may be.
We got a 6-year-old right here that can practice with.
Yeah.
Raring to go. Practice, you get real tired. So, it's thundering now. Wait, my questions. So one of the things is this sudden transition into the online environment. How do you feel about how quickly we had to transition into all of this work? How did it make you nervous? Did it you're the superintendent, so I can only imagine from the principal and from a teacher and from a student standpoint, but when that news hit on March 13th at 1:04 p.m., because I won't forget, because that was the day I defended my dissertation. So as soon as I walked out.
I remember that day. And the funniest thing was superintendents were just as surprised as everyone else. Some folks say, well, didn't you guys get a heads up? Or no, we did not. At best, I thought we were being closed, maybe extended beyond spring break or worst case, the end of April. We did not have a clue that we would end up being closed. The physical plants of our schools would be closed for the remainder of the year. We found out that day the same time everyone else did. And I think from that standpoint, we have really mobilized and organized around our work in a very efficient way. Under the current circumstances, I know there are a lot of divisions that are wrestling with still some things that we've kind of worked out, and then there's some divisions that we're looking at some of the things they're doing, and we're picking up some best practice. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, it's really I told my staff yesterday in our senior staff meeting, I said, there's not many things in education that you really have to make an immediate decision on. You really, unless the building's on fire, someone's getting hurt. Well, yes. There's a really situation that's impacting student or staff safety or otherwise. Many cases, you should be able to talk about it, investigate best practice, really vet your ideas, and maybe get some input before you roll out initiatives and things. And I think we did that in a very reasonable amount of time. Obviously, we still don't have all of the answers. There's still some things we need to work out in terms of our senior graduations and what's next. Some of it is impacted by the unknown around this virus. Mm-hmm. But in terms of making sure that we've had some level of continuity of instruction for students, some consistency in the services that we provided students in their homes, whether it's social emotional supports, academic support, I think, and obviously our meals programs getting ramped up and continuing to expand. We're serving well over 5,000 students a day now. Wow. Rapidly moving towards 6,000. So I think I feel very proud about at least what we've been able to accomplish in a very short amount of time. So that's not ideal under no circumstances. But I think if we had to look back at the last few weeks and say, hey, what will we do differently? There aren't many things I would probably point to, even with the clear 2020 vision that I have right now, mm-hmm. and say that we would probably do quite a few things more differently. They are, and looking forward, I think we still have some things to work out. Well,
and I 100%, my heart goes out to all of the decision makers. As a building principal, yes, I have to make some building level decisions, but to make a decision on the turn of a dime when you're getting kind of surprised by an announcement like we did, I really the comments are coming in that Newport News is ahead of other school divisions. We're thankful for the communication, the processes that are coming out, so that kind of stuff. I want to ask you, as a superintendent, what can we do to help you?
That's a very good question. Thank you for that question. I think the best thing our teachers, our support staff can do, all of our folks who are working either directly or indirectly with students can do is, one, and first and foremost, stay healthy. Practice safe practices to make sure you don't catch this virus. The more I read about it, the more I hear about it, the more afraid I am of folks who get it, because there is no cure right now. So at the forefront of my mind is stay healthy. Don't practice the social distancing. Get out into the community cautiously and make sure you are wearing a mask and gloves and using the sanitizer and be safe. The next thing, as an educator, is remember that we are educators. So we have a mission. Our mission is very clear. It doesn't change due to COVID-19. Our mission is to educate children and to make sure that we're always supportive of the social, emotional support and the welfare of kids. So even under these circumstances, those regular contacts, the Zoom conferencing, whether you're teaching online or you're supporting elementary work with packets in the home, those regular contacts with parents, students, supporting instruction and maintaining some level of standards for the work that needs to be turned in or feedback provided on. Keeping kids engaged right now will allow them to remain pliable once we get back to some level of normalcy. My biggest fear, when you talk about not my fear at night, one of my big fears is that we have a kid who's reading below grade level, was not really doing well academically, and they disengaged from March all the way till August or September.
Yeah.
What challenges will we see with those children moving forward? We can head off a lot of those problems now by trying to keep our kids engaged, supporting supportive learning, even if it's just involved in enrichment activities, and then really having something of quality in our summer session to make sure that we're reaching out and closing gaps for some students. So I think what we can do, stay healthy, stay engaged with your responsibilities, and if there's something that there's a call to service, answer the call. Because I think the worst thing we can do right now is to relax and lower our standards, and then we have a whole mess to take care of in September.
Yes,
and that'll be where we'll that's my big fear.
And one of the questions that was in the chat was about just re-engaging at school communities and procedures and practices to ensure staff and faculty, staff and students are safe. And just, I would like to just share that on the Wednesdays office hours, the clear protocols that the division has put out to ensure that we are practicing social distancing, we're scheduling appointments, we have enough hand sanitizer, gloves, disposable masks, so that we're protected. We are not being rushed into an environment where our needs aren't being met, and that our work is important, but you're also placing the value back on that by ensuring we have the supplies that we need, that we can protect ourselves and our families. But I know that you're not in your house 24/7, Dr. Parker, as you are in your office today. Someone wanted to know, do people approach you in public about virtual learning, school district stuff, etc.? Even if we're social distancing, like you got your mask on, you got your gloves on, your hood on, you like trying to be George Parker, get the toilet tissue for your wife. Is somebody still stopping you and getting in close proximity and asking you questions about school stuff?
No, I think, and I appreciate Newport News and our community, because I think in many cases when I've had conversations with folks out in public, everyone seems to maintain their social distancing, the physical distancing, and be respectful of that. So I haven't had any issues like that, and I really haven't had no concerns with meeting parents or students out in the community as I go about the city. I live here, so if I see a student in the store or in the McDonald's, if I'm doing a drive-through and I run into a parent in the drive-through or a student in the drive-through, I normally, and they recognize me, normally we'll talk and I have some conversation. So I really haven't had a problem with that. Now, with that being said, most of my information comes in via email. So I have an Ask the Superintendent email address where any staff or students or families, parents can email directly to my office, and we try to review those emails within 48 hours and hopefully respond in a reasonable, similar time frame. But I've received at least, I think this past weekend, since our C&D team released the continuity of learning plan, 2 emails, parents that had concerns, and some of them were personal concerns more so than the plan. Maybe wanted a little bit more, maybe wanted to know why we can't do a little bit more in terms of home instruction.
Okay.
But I've also received a variety of contacts from teachers and parents supporting the continuity of learning plan and saying, hey, this is great. We've looked at other divisions and we feel that we've made some significant advances in what we're offering our students. So I think parents, and I think it boils down to what is their personal experiences and their comfort level with instruction and taking place in the home in many cases. But we'll continue to listen as parents. And if parents are talking to teachers too, the best thing we could tell folks is, we know it's not ideal. Nothing can replace a teacher in a classroom interacting directly with children. And that's the reality of it. But we can do the best we can to make sure that we're still delivering instruction where we can, and also setting some standards towards mastery for content that's been taught at the elementary level to make sure that kids are prepared for next year.
So we know that you don't have a magic crystal ball that you can look in and tell us what fall or like what the next month looks like. But a lot of the questions that are coming in, someone said, we realize every day, week, month changes. But are you already working with your team on developing what a fall startup could look like, whether it be a virtual or actual in-person, in terms of building decontamination, what that could look like if social distancing is involved?
Well, I can tell you, the state superintendent has already put together a task force to start looking at the from a procedural piece, what standards we should put in place for returning to school operations once we're cleared to do so. So we'll continue to receive guidance from the state, from the Department of Education on common expectations around the return to school and the return. There's also a state task force on accreditation. As you're aware, we delayed SOL testing, canceled SOL testing this year. So obviously the accreditation picture is, it's a big question mark right now. What will accreditation look like in the 2021 school year? So there is a task force right now already starting to meet and start gathering ideas around what would be a fair way to assess student progress and learning next year. That's not only fair to our students, but also fair to our school divisions. From our standpoint, I know our team is already looking forward, because we're sticking with our schedule at this point, usually around the latter part, the fourth quarter of the year. We're already starting to think about next year. What programs, what initiatives, what professional development. We know that this virus will determine when we physically return to school, and some projections could be as late as October right now. So it's still not a guarantee that we'll be in school at the beginning of September, as we post Labor Day, as we normally have been. We'll have to continue to see how those projections play out in our state, and hopefully we will be in school in the fall under very minimal conditions. So really that also will play in effect of what timeline we're working with. How does that impact contractual obligations, school operations, and those things. Now, what we have done is we understand that now that that we're in a virtual environment, and we may continue to see a significant need for virtual learning. There's going to be a gold rush right now for obviously Chromebooks and technology that will allow school divisions to do that. And many of them are going to start buying as soon as they get the stimulus money. So we've kind of gotten ahead of that game and already started putting in some orders. of what we can afford right now without to kind of get ahead of that buying curve that's going to take place. And then obviously once stimulus funds come in, we'll continue to make more purchases because we don't know right now. You know, our summer programming may be completely virtual. We have to prepare for that. We have to prepare our teachers for that and our students for that. And then at some point, we have to re-engage our elementary students with not just new instruction in social studies and science, but also in reading and math as well. So we're going to have to teach new content. So we need to make sure we're prepared, and whatever that environment may be, we need to better position ourselves to be able to do that.
And that's what I was telling them the last time we met. I was like, I'm on a performance improvement plan for first grade instruction because I'm a high school person. Like, I feel like children should be born, no offense, elementary people, but I need y'all in my life. Like, I need somebody to come stand at my window and teach my son through the window, whatever we need to do. Because I valued elementary before. Like, I understand there are different levels. Everybody's got their ministry. I'm a high school person, but
yeah, two high school people should not be driving this conversation right now because, you know, we're like lost when it comes to teaching kids to read, right?
But here's the thing, the curriculum and development team has done a phenomenal job of putting together those packets of work for kids and families, getting the virtual learning plans done. The work has been tireless, but as a parent, and this was some of the questions that were coming through in the chat, I speak and read English. I am well educated, and it's not that I struggle, but struggling to balance my current role and then my current role as mom. So balancing my principal work with, we're a two NNPS proud household. So balancing all of our work in addition to supporting Jace and ensuring that he's on track for learning. But one of the questions was, you know, even for our families that don't speak the language, if the packets are going home in English or only Spanish, I know that when I worked at Denby at the time, there were 41 different languages in that building. So, you know, how are we working to support and connect with all of our families in that way as well, if that makes sense?
Well, I know our C&D team will tell you that we use the app to communicate effectively with parents. And most of our information online can be translated to not just Spanish, but a variety of different languages. The packets that go home, there are some limitations there as far as, you know, how we can translate those items, that information. But I'm hoping that our ESL population, our ESL teachers and are really connected, and our schools are connected to the students who you have, and making sure that we are meeting the needs of their child as best possible under these circumstances. Anything that's online can be translated, so there may be some special accommodations there. And I'm hoping someone on the chat line is probably chiming in who's addressing that. How they are directly working with families now who have students who speak not Spanish, but maybe some other language that we would need to translate.
And one of the things that we do for everybody out there, for you, Dr. Parker, once this is over, because it's a recorded session, all the chat questions and all the questions that are posed are downloaded, so we can direct those to the appropriate people to get responses back to that. So not every question, I know some folks have put some stuff that's very specific in the chat, we'll get those specific answers regarding contracts and all of that stuff. This conversation today is not necessarily about the technical stuff that goes with being the superintendent of Newport News, but more along the lines of like, how are you feeling? How can we support you? And really, as a school division overall, we're NNPS proud. But what makes you, as our superintendent, especially NNPS proud? If you were going to get on Twitter today and hashtag NNPS proud, and it was like one thing that you were like, yup, I'm gonna shout them out for this, what would it be?
I would say the teamwork that we have in our division, the quality of people and the teamwork that we have in our division, I think exceeds many other divisions. I think, you know, it always impresses me when I see the level of connectedness between our teachers, our principals, and our central office staff, and then also the students in our division feel supported. That's something that you don't see everywhere. Kids feel like they're in a family in their schools in Newport News. So when I say NNPS proud, it's I think I always go back to the people. People make the division. The quality of people allow us to do the things that we do. We have very good people here working in our school division, supporting our programs and our operations and our support resources. And I just think that I'm very proud to be a member of the team here in Newport News and be able to accomplish what we have accomplished thus far,
All right.
and what we'll continue to accomplish.
One of the questions, and I know that when people ask me this question, my list is so long. During the stay-at-home order, where do you miss going the most in Newport?
The gym. I miss the gym.
I miss going to
That's
Brick
my
House,
out.
really.
I miss the gym. Let me see, where else do I miss going? I don't go many places other than work, to the house, and maybe to the gym.
Well, we want to get you out and about so you can have a place.
Right. So I'm not really out and about that much. I think the main thing is probably that time I used to spend just getting in the gym and getting to the sauna and being, I'm a very secluded person. When I go and work out, I put my headphones on and I'm not very social. So that's my time to just be in my zone. So I'm sorry if I see anyone in the gym and I don't recognize you or look past you. I'm not looking for you in the gym. I'm just zoned in. Yes. But I don't have that. I have to do all that at home now. And it's a little different environment, but I missed that opportunity to just put some me time in and sweat a little bit in the gym.
Well, I think that for me too, because I guess and we're going to talk about like, how do you transition like in and out of your work mode? But like, I think about when I'm out in public and maybe I'm at Walmart or somewhere, and sometimes I have like headphones in and listening to a podcast or a book, and I'll see somebody, especially at the gym, and I'm like working out and I'm seeing them. And it's not that I don't want to talk, but I'm like the person in the gym with the blinders on, because I'm like, boom, I got to get this workout in. I got to hit it as hard as I can. I don't want anybody seeing me grimacing, sweating, even though I always wear my heritage stuff so they know it's me. But like, I'm in like a zone at that point. So I can understand missing the gym, because when you work out at home with a 6-year-old and a dog, it's a little different when you're trying to do those push-ups, because somebody's on your back, the dog, the kids.
Exactly. You need that time. You need your me time. So I don't, but other than that, I think, I really do not, date night, just getting out, going to a movie, going to a restaurant. I mean, I think those things, I think we all miss that. Just having opportunities to do that, do those kind of things. So I think the social piece will hopefully come back soon, and we'll get a chance to get back to some normalcy. But I've missed those kind of things, really.
So there were some stuff in the chat. If you get to Target at 7 o'clock in the morning, you can get in line to get toilet paper. I just want to because people are putting where you can get your toilet paper. For everyone out there, there's 347 people out here. Target at 7 a.m. The Walgreens on Jefferson restocks Friday at 9 a.m. I don't want to see anybody out there pushing and shoving and fighting to get the toilet paper, but I'm just giving you the resources that you need to be successful in NNPS, because we are in this together. So people are putting that stuff out in the chat as well, of where we can get our most needed resources to make sure we make it through this time. Kathy asked, would you be open to a year-round school schedule next year?
That would be an interesting proposition, even if some of it's online or blended of some type. Mm-hmm. I would not be opposed to it, because we're under very unusual circumstances.
Yeah.
And in particular, Kathy, if we started somewhere like in October, or we were delayed, I think there's going to be a lot of interest in extending learning beyond the June date, but then you also have to deal with the traditional values of some of our families, who want a identified summer schedule for their kids or for their families, with vacations and everything else. But we have a very needy population of students who could use that additional time for learning. So I think if it's in the best interest of kids, if we feel we have some significant deficits and challenges that we need to address, you can't catch kids up with less time. you catch kids up with more time.
Absolutely.
So extending the length of the school day, adding more days to our calendar, looking at some extended learning opportunities and remedial supports. There may be a lot of different things we may look at. Year round could be a possibility, but it really hasn't been anything that's been mentioned around the table at this time.
Okay. Shelley wants to know, will lunches and foods continue to be provided throughout the summer?
Yes, we're actually running our summer meal program right now. What we are doing right now is what we do during the summer. The federal program that we have for breakfast and lunch allows us to feed students during the summer months, and receive the reimbursement from the federal government to provide those healthy meals for students. So we have every anticipation that we'll still be able to continue to run that program during the summer as well.
Okay. So there is a question, it was an anonymous attendee. What can we as teachers do to put families who are struggling financially or emotionally at ease? I don't want to add undue stress to a student and their family over assignments.
I think our teachers, as you're connecting with parents and families, we're going to have to also understand that every household is not the same. We obviously are focused on equity. I recently had a conversation with a parent electronically whose husband teaches, I think she said tuba or a musical instrument out of the home during the day. And that was one of their sources of income. And so it really did not make for a very conducive environment for the kids to be in the house all day long and focused on learning. So, those are things I really can't provide a solution for. We did put out a sample schedule, our C&D team, for parents to give them some guidance and how to add some structure to the day for their younger children. Maybe we can continue to find ways to work with parents on what will work best in their household. But then also adding the flexibility to say, it's okay if you guys are not able to get this into me this week. Just let's find a time when we can communicate and get the work accomplished. So I think those are some of the things that we have to just realize, that every household is different, and the challenges that our students are facing and the challenges our parents are facing is real. It's real. So I would say, with that being said, I can't necessarily find a silver bullet for that, because I think we just have a standard that we have to set. We have to give them the ceiling, or at least the floor and the ceiling, and say, hey, here's where we need your child to live for the next few months. And if we set those standards, whatever the challenges are, we're hoping our parents and our students will rise to that expectation, versus what I've heard from some suggestion from some parents is to not have a standard. And that's unacceptable for me. So I think we can't expect great things from our children next year if we don't set a standard for them now as far as what learning should look like during these circumstances.
That is a great point. I'm glad you brought up the equity piece, because on Friday we have Dr. Janice Underwood, who will be here to do a similar chat and talk about equity and what equity looks like in the state of Virginia. Talk to us a little bit about what your definition of equity is, Dr. Parker.
Equity for me is a lens. It's a lens that we should run everything through as we make decisions. Really, equity is not, you can define it, but what you really want to do is live it in your decision making and in your processes.
Okay.
And I'll give you a good example of that. As we roll out our continuation of learning plan, we understand that there are homes that don't have technology, that don't have Wi-Fi access. There are varying degrees of abilities for kids to access our information on the website. We understand we have a population of parents in our community, parents and students who are English as a second language in their home, and we have to accommodate that. We understand that under these circumstances, we still have to provide support for our special needs students, our students that have some emotional issues that are driving their behavior. They don't just go away because they're going to be home for a few months. So we still have our support staff doing the great work, our our social workers, our school counselors, our special ed population, teachers and staff reaching out to the homes and making sure that we're connected in some way with those families. So equity has to be a place where we live. We've thought about equity in detail when we started thinking about how can we grade for the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Do we want a grading system that just reflects people who can do or who have resources available or have a conducive home environments? Do we want that to be what determines the grade in the fourth quarter, or do we want to put something in place where we feel is fair and equitable for all students? So now, granted, it's not a silver bullet to every situation, but I would take the latter of that. I would want our grading system and our considerations for determining final grades in the fourth quarter to not be conducive to whether you're in a household that has structure or you have great technology, or a parent who's going to sit down and be able to understand that math problem versus a student who is dealing with a little bit more chaos in the home and possibly too much flexibility and freedom or no technology and or a disability and putting the same expectations on them under these circumstances. We can accommodate those things when school is in and kids are coming to us and we have those resources under the same roof. We can't necessarily accommodate those to the quality of expectations that we have when we're dealing with different households. And so equity is a decision. It's a decision-making process. It has to be common. It has to make its way into practice. And hopefully, I gave a good segue into Dr. Underwood next week, and she can, or later in the week.
Yeah.
And she can build on that conversation.
So I do have, Linda has a question, and I hope that if you can answer this question, I feel like you need to write a book and you can be a multimillionaire. How can I feel better or less overwhelmed during all of this? Now, I'm seeking the answer to that question because sometimes we feel a bit overwhelmed.
Right.
Just the quick transition, like you were saying, just the number of emails we're getting.
First of all, don't feel like you have to read every email.
Just read the ones from Dr. Parker and your principal.
I think there was one question about what I do to keep my sanity as a superintendent. I stopped a long time ago. I learned this in my first year or first 2 years as a superintendent. Actually, I think I probably started this in central office, but I learned a long time ago that after 7:30, there's nothing in email that needs to be read at between 7:30 and I also found that the way I think, if I started reading email at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, I tend to go to bed and I'm thinking about it.
Work.
And I would rather just go to bed and be able to sleep. So I shut down the email at some point at night. I tell my staff that if it's really important, text me or call me. That's the easiest way to reach me after 7:30. It allows me to be connected at home. I should shut it down earlier. My wife looks at me kind of funny when I'm all on email around 7 o'clock. But at some point, I stopped peeking at the email to keep my sanity, and I started doing something in the home. The other thing I do is, if during these circumstances, is pick up a healthy habit. If you, I just talked about looking at, I work out, in the middle of the day. Try some yoga. Try some, meal planning or meal prep. Pick up something healthy, mindfulness, whatever it may be, that's going to break up your day and allow you to focus on yourself at some point. I know that's hard with kids in the house and everything else for those folks who have small children, but if you have that opportunity to do so, I think that will also add this relieve the stress as well. And I think also is I think we've made it pretty clear that we don't have to really fight our way through these instructional plans in the fourth quarter and really get stressed over whether kids are doing the work, not doing the work, those kind of things. You're doing a great job by staying connected. You're doing an awesome job by engaging your students as best you can. And every student under these circumstances may not be as complicit. We understand that. So don't let that be a cause of stress. Don't let your parents be a cause of stress. Explain to them what you're trying to accomplish and that we all have limited, we're all working under limited conditions, and don't let that become something that really causes stress on your end as well. Just do the best job you can to educate the folks who are remaining engaged, and then also reach out to the ones who are not. because there may be some issues with their home life that we may also be able to support that family with. We need our teachers to be our lenses into the household, because we're not sure every kid is getting a healthy meal every day. We're not sure every kid's social emotional needs are being met. We're not sure their home situation is conducive for under these circumstances for every child. Not that we're all social workers or anything, but we don't have a clear lens in every household without our teachers making those frequent or infrequent contacts that you do, and our school counselors and our social workers and everyone else.
Well, somebody in the chat, I think it was Katie, said, mic drop, Dr. Parker. So I think that, that message that you just gave was really what our team was needing to hear, but also talking about how do we practice self-care, and hearing how you also, like us, are struggling with the shutdown routine and making sure that there's a clear delineation in remote working between my time that I'm available for work, but also my time that I'm going to be actually engaged and connected with my family. Because right now we're in a really delicate place, because I feel like I've never spent more time with my family than I have now, but also being very intentional about when that time is and will I allow it to be disruptive. Like you, I feel like if it's an emergency, they're not going to put it in the email, they're going to call me. So, being mindful that, it's not always a fire that needs to be put out. Is it something that can wait a couple hours until you do your yoga, until you do your breathing techniques, until you get through season, whatever, not season, maybe episode 1 or 2 of the next series, but, just thank you for bringing back the importance of really that self-care aspect of what we need to take care of ourselves. Like they say, put your what do they say? You put your face mask on before you help somebody else on the plane, making sure that we're feeding ourselves before we try to pour out into others. I do want to shout out all the ESL teachers out there. I've worked at DMB. I understand the work that you're doing, especially right now. The translation services, and still continuing to service and support your families. Our special educators, the federal government is saying we still need to provide accommodations, and y'all are making it happen. School counselors and the student support specialists and that whole team, because when the crisis hits, and as building principals, and even you, Dr. Parker, we get those emails in the middle of the night that there's a critical incident, there is not one person that can say they don't have somebody, Linda Askew, Michelle Mitchell, like all of those people are on the drop of a dime. Those teams are really boots on the ground, taking care of the social emotional support. When I get the email, I'm calling them, like, what do I need to tell to family? Who do I need to call next? And so really all the folks that are out there, frontline appreciation for all of you, because I'm gonna tell you, knowing that the translation services from Buoyance and the special education services and collaborations and all of that stuff that's happening, school counselor support and all that work, I appreciate. I know Dr. Parker appreciates you, but I want to make sure, because it was in the chat, folks were saying, shout out CMD, shout out this person, I'm shouting out everybody, because really everybody is doing such a phenomenal job with all of the work that is going on. And there's so much work that happens behind the scenes that we could be on here all day and all night shouting out people who are doing stuff that we don't necessarily recognize 100%.
Well, that is you're right on point there. And I would be remiss if I tried to shout out every group that is working, but we have some serious and valuable operations that are going on right now that we know folks are essential. And they're doing a phenomenal job showing up every day, making sure kids are still getting an access to a healthy meal, making sure that we're all over the city, getting packets out to kids. Our folks coming back in on Wednesdays, making sure that you are able to at least make sure that the school is still accessible to our communities. There's just so many things. Our print shop has just stepped up phenomenally so many times to make sure that we've really been able to meet our timelines. Our technology staff.
Dr. Parker, I don't want to interrupt you, but Bridget is in charge of this.
And Bridget's cutting us. Are we out of time?
No, because I know that we only have like 1 minute left. It's like an hour. So I don't want everybody out there to think that it's just going to like cut off and we disconnect it. So if it cuts off, it's not us. It's the system only holds up for an hour. So, but I didn't.
Well, let me just go ahead and say goodbye, my goodbyes. Thank you, guys. More information will be coming out as we get more information on the budget, as we get more information from the state regarding stimulus funds, and we transition. We'll send some more communication out around graduations coming up, and just getting more information out to you soon. So stay tuned, stay engaged. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Parker, for joining us. I really appreciate it. Everybody, don't forget to tune in on Friday. We have Dr. Janice Underwood, State Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion for the Virginia. Works with Governor.
Virginia, yes. And a Newport News resident.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Parker.
Guys.
Thanks, guys. Bridget.
I'm here. Great job, both of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to end the meeting so you guys
Okay.
can go. But thank you so much for everything. Appreciate you both.
Bridget, appreciate you.
All right, have a great school board meeting tonight.
All right now.
All right. Bye, Dr. Parker. Thank you again.
Thanks, Shamika.